and welcome to Wiki Say What? I am your host, Greta, and today with me is my friend Grant. Now I'm going to introduce him in a second, but before we begin, what this podcast is we're going through fun, crazy, weird Wikipedia articles and just commenting on the craziness that they are. All right, Grant. So I want to point out before I introduce Grant that he has his BuzzFeed article and results memorized.
Yeah,
This describes Grant to a T, honestly. So, Grant, go ahead. Let us know a little bit about you based off of BuzzFeed.
Yeah, so the BuzzFeed quiz that I chose was, are your fingers more precise than everybody else's?
Okay, that's unique.
Yes, and I got average dexterity. So first of all, that's not really the answer to the question of are your fingers more precise than everyone else's. But,
BuzzFeed, it's okay.
I would like to think that it's wrong. I would like to think that I have very dexterous fingers. But obviously, it actually did test your finger dexterity in it. And apparently I just didn't do well. So I really want to have better finger dexterity now. I definitely took the quiz multiple times to try and get a better score and didn't. So
Interesting.
But that probably describes me well.
All right. Well, there we go. Now, if you need to know anything about Grant, it's that he has average dexterity.
My fingers are average.
So that's great. Okay. So just to remind you guys, in this podcast, my guests do not know what the article is until I tell them live right here. So, Grant, our article, have you ever heard of a man named Michael Cicconetti?
No, I have not.
Perfect. All right. Well, Michael Cicconetti is a retired municipal court judge who presided in Ohio, dispensing a unique brand of what he calls creative justice. The judge often left the choice of penalty to the defendant, who was faced with spending time in jail or undergoing one of Cicconnetti's unusual punishments. These often involved placing a defendant in a similar position to that of the defendant's victims of the time of the crime. All right, so let's dive in a little bit.
So I actually going to stop you there. Now that you read that, I actually do think I have heard of him before, and I'm very curious if I know specifically of the case you're talking about.
All right, well, we're going
Does it have anything to do with hair?
I've honestly also not read most of this.
Good. Let's find out. Let's go on this journey together.
Let's go on this journey. Okay. Cicconnetti's first creative sentence, which involved a violation relating to a stopped school bus, occurred in the mid-1990s. Famously, he offered 26-year-old Ohio housewife Michelle Murray the option of spending a night in the woods for abandoning 35 kittens in the forest in wintertime. I can't believe she did that. That's horrible.
Awful.
That's
Why
so
would
bad.
you?
35 too. Why do you have so many kittens?
Yeah, I was gonna say, how did you
Did
come
she have
to?
like 20 pregnant cats? I mean, that's probably a large number, but
like,
I don't know.
Did she stumble across these kittens, or did she just have
a box
them?
of 35 kittens and says, "Go to the forest"? I don't know, but so she was offered the time to literally, I guess, relive what these kittens experienced and spend a night in the cold forest. He said to her, in quote, "You don't do that. You don't leave these poor little animals out. And yes, I wanted to set an example for her, future context, or anybody else who is contemplating doing such a thing." End quote. I really hope nobody's contemplating doing such a thing.
Yeah, I don't know why you would want to contemplate that.
My goodness. Okay, on the other occasions, he ordered noisy neighbors to spend a day of silence in the forest or listen to classical music instead of rock. I like that.
Wow. He really likes sending people
healing.
to the forest.
I know. Something about the forest must be very healing. I don't know. In all cases, the judge attempted to place a link between the perpetrated offense and its punishment. That makes sense, let them understand what they
do something
did
that would make them be like, oh, I understand why this upset somebody
or
something.
Exactly. Due in part to the popularity of his actions, he won the presidency of the American Judges Association. Wow. Okay.
I didn't know that.
I know it's
okay.
The American Judge Association is a thing. He attributed his unusual approach to his background. He is an Eagle Scout.
Oh, that makes
sense.
This
makes so much sense.
That makes a lot of sense.
It
also ties it back to the forest. He probably had to spend a lot of nights in the forest.
He probably did. It's partly back to his childhood. All right, many of the victims, but also defendants, claim that his unusual approach has helped them to cope with their problems, and the judge is reportedly inundated with letters from his admirers. Furthermore, where the national recidivism, repeat offenders, what that means, rate is over 75%, the rate of Judge Cicconnetti's court is just 10%. So obviously it works.
Yeah.
That's cool. Also, I love that he gets fan mail. What judge gets fan mail?
Not a lot of judges do get fan mail for
Maybe
the decisions
Judge Judy,
that they make.
but yeah,
usually people like hate judges because they get them in trouble. Trust
Yeah.
me, Greta and I are both RAs.
We know.
Kind of like the judges on the hall.
We should get fan mail.
We should get fan mail.
Man, everybody out there, please send us fan mail.
Start sending it in. I can give you my MSC box number so it comes specifically
Please,
to me.
yes. 1971 University Boulevard. His philosophy is exemplified by the following 2 quotations. When you engage people and praise them for their good behavior, not unlike children, it helps their self-esteem. My judicial philosophy is really not that much different from the parental philosophy. I can see that. You know, your kid bites Tommy. Well, I guess that's not a good example, but
now Tommy gets to bite you
yeah,
back.
Maybe bad example, but same thing. And his other quote is, I have 5 children. You can paddle them or spank them, but what do you gain? Most people want to be good, but for little obstacles or habits. We have to change the habits and remove the obstacles. That's our job. Ooh, preaching to the parents, I see. Sentences such as Cicconetti's are becoming more popular across the United States, and one judge has cited him specifically as being the influence for one of her own sentences.
Wow.
He's making a difference.
Look at him,
That's
influencer.
Wonderful. There he is. All right. In February 2019, Cicconetti announced that he planned to retire later in the year. He retired for being a judge on September 20th, 2019. So sad.
Oh, that was so recent.
I know. It's here we are up to date.
Huh.
All right, now the next section of this article is something that seems very interesting to me, and it's called Unusual Sentences.
Okay, good. So these are some of the ones.
Yes, let's
I'll tell you
through
off
a
the bat,
list.
the one I know about has to do with, maybe it will come up and we'll have to see the specifics of it, but it was where a girl cut another person's hair, and so her sentence was, like, she had to cut one of her ponytails off.
How old was she?
I want to say, like a teenager, like early teens.
That's a rough time to
or
have
like,
to cut your hair.
Maybe like between 10 and 13, maybe.
I bet she learned her lesson, honestly. I think that's something you don't forget.
So we'll see if that one comes up and how accurately I remember that one.
All right. For one example, a man caught with a loaded gun was sent to a morgue to see corpses.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. He might have nightmares, but maybe
Wow.
he won't carry a loaded gun anymore, I guess.
Said, hey,
Let's
you don't
just
want to see
do
dead
that.
people.
Yeah.
This is what they look like.
Oh, I love this one. A young man who stole a bicycle spent 10 days riding a bicycle to support a local charity.
Wait, say the beginning of that.
A young man who stole a bicycle
okay,
had
yeah,
to
yeah.
spend 10 days riding a bicycle to support a local charity. That's what he gets. I mean,
if he wanted to ride a bike, he says, you're gonna ride a bike.
Yep. He's just giving the people what they want,
Exactly.
honestly.
Win-win.
Exactly. All right. A man who shot a dog was sentenced to donating 40 pounds of dog food on every holiday to the Lake County Animal Shelter.
Yeah.
He's helping people now. That's good.
That's a good one. I like that. I like his methods.
Yeah, I know, right? I like that.
It gets to the heart.
Teenagers who flattened tires on school buses were ordered to throw a picnic for the primary school children whose outing was canceled due to the prank. One, so sad that they couldn't go on their school field trip.
Yeah.
But they got a picnic.
And,
I hope
honestly,
it
think of
sufficed.
all the good you're making because of that scenario. Because, something bad happened, and so people are going to be upset because they didn't get what they wanted, and,
Right.
they've been hurt in some kind of way now, and you have to punish the other people. So even though they're getting punished, everyone's upset in some kind of way.
It's true.
But in this case, they're, creating a fun event out of it, and it's still serving as a punishment to them. It's
they are learning
you're
their
being
lesson.
punished, but at the same time, we're creating this new fun event, like this picnic that people get to go to make, up for it. So you're making this fun
Exactly.
thing that's still punishment.
Yeah.
So it's good.
If I committed a crime, I'd want this judge.
Yeah.
All right, this is fantastic.
Depends on the crime you commit.
That's
I
true.
don't know
That's
if you want that.
true. Fair enough. All right. A man who committed a traffic violation while shouting pigs at police officers was made to stand on a street corner with a 350-pound pig and a sign that said, "This is not a police officer."
That's a good one.
I love that.
I like that.
That is beautiful. This one's sweet. And, well, for the judge, not the crime person.
Mm.
But in January 2018, Cicconetti sentenced a man who stole a red collection kettle holding about $250 from the Salvation Army to spend 24 hours homeless.
Huh.
That's
Yeah.
a good lesson you learn.
It sounds like one of the mission trips that you do, in middle school. I feel
Yeah.
like they have, the urban plunge ones where it's, you spend a weekend
Yeah.
seeing what it's like to be homeless.
I feel like he's using a lot of his Eagle Scout
Yeah,
tricks here. I kind of am getting that vibe. A woman who pleaded guilty to assault for using pepper spray on a man was given the choice to serve 30 days in jail or serve 3 days of community service and be shot herself with pepper spray. Aw.
Wow.
After agreeing to the latter, she was sprayed and found out it was only water. But her heart had changed.
Man, that is psychological warfare right there.
Like, this is what's gonna happen.
I think they did that because it probably would have been
that
illegal.
probably would not have worked. Yeah, I don't know. All right, and
that
then
stuff isn't fun.
lastly, a woman who pleaded guilty to animal cruelty and neglect for abandoning a dog in an uninhabitable house was given a choice of serving 90 days in jail or picking up garbage for 8 hours in the Layton County landfill. Wow,
I
you'll
did
definitely
hear
have
about
a job
that
there.
one
You
too.
heard about that one?
Yeah.
The defendant chose to work in the landfill, as would be expected. I would much rather spend 8 days picking up smelly trash than 90 days in prison.
Yeah.
think
I will
that's an
say,
easy
I am
choice.
curious what prison is like. I would not be upset if I was wrongfully put in jail for a little while just to experience it.
That's probably the first person I've ever heard say that,
Yeah, I have
and
a
the only
unique
person I ever.
perspective on
Grant
life.
is a very unique individual, and it's fantastic.
No, come on. You can't tell me nobody out there listening, okay? You've never wondered what it would be like to be in jail, just for like a couple days, maybe a week. Obviously, I don't want to be in there for long, but you're not just curious. You don't want to
Right.
know.
It's true. All right, we'll end with one more, and this one says, a woman who skipped out on a cab fare was ordered to walk 30 miles in 48 hours. 30 miles was the distance the cab driver had taken her before she skipped out on the fare. I feel like 30 miles is a large cab fee. Like, that's definitely,
Yeah,
I don't know how much, I don't
Yeah,
take
I've
a
never
cab
like
often.
yeah, I've never
but
had to like
pay that, right? Like, a
yeah,
cab
like I've
fee,
been in
but-
taxis before, but it's always been on like different things where it's like I'm in another country and other people are taking care of it. Like so
Yeah. Can't relate, but
yeah,
yeah.
I don't know what the fare would be. But
Yeah,
it's
I
probably a
imagine
lot.
it would be a lot, yeah. And 30 miles in 48 hours, that's about, what? I don't know. You'd have to sleep at some point. She's definitely walking all day and then
Yeah.
sleeping and then walking all day. I don't know.
'Cause
That's
it's
like a
2
good
days,
amount.
so it's like 15 miles a day,
Yeah,
essentially.
which is, you're continuously walking, I would think. Eating.
Yeah.
I don't know.
15 miles a
I
day.
don't
That means
walk
like you have
15
to
miles a day often.
okay, it's a lot of walking, but at the same point it's like it's not too strenuous
Yeah.
because you would have to do like like as of right now I'm awake for like 15 hours a day, usually at least, probably a little more. So
College
that would be
life.
yeah, probably a lot more. So that's about like an hour per mile,
Yeah.
which is very
That's
doable walking
doable.
speed, but you're walking the entire time, no
And
rest.
hopefully now she'll pay her cab fare.
Exactly.
There we go. All right, well, Judge Cicconetti has earned my respect, and I hope to
Oh,
hear
absolutely.
more of these stories from future judges because these are much more interesting than just basic
Yeah, I
prison
hope that he's left a
sentences.
legacy and this doesn't stop
Oh,
here.
absolutely. I should send him some fan mail after
Yeah,
this. I
Judge
think I might.
Cicconetti, like you deserve that fan mail.
If you're
Honestly, thank
listening,
you.
You are fantastic, and we thank you so much for this content.
Yes.
All right, well, thank you guys so much, and thank you to Grant for being our guest here today.
It's my pleasure.
It's been wonderful, and we will see you guys next time with a new Wikipedia article.